All right. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Hopefully, you had a great day. Yesterday was not a good day. We will talk about that, but we got a full 15 game slate on tap today. Now, there is some bad weather today. So, there are a lot of games that could get delayed or postponed today, potentially up to 7. So, tried to veer away from most of those games. That way, we had some plays where we knew the weather was going to be okay, or domes or things like that. So, we'll get into that. Only 4 best bets today. Like I said, just with the weather, things like that. Don't want to take a bunch of plays and then the games get rained out or delayed. It just throws off everything. So if you guys haven't yet, make sure you guys join the Discord. Link is down below. I'll be looking through some plays as we kind of firm up the weather plans, and I'll post at least 1 or 2 in the Discord. Did post a parlay last night of Kerry Carpenter to get 2+ bases and Aaron Judge to get 2+ bases, which cash. So that was nice after a pretty rough day. So recap from yesterday, we went down a little under 2.5 units. We went 1 and 4. The hooks were vicious yesterday for me personally. Just so many hooks. Brewers race to 4. They would have lost a race to 1. They were terrible. They looked awful. And if you saw how the Guardians scored their first 3 runs, it was terrible. Churio missed a fly ball that had a 95% catch probability. Didn't even come close. Just missed it. So that sucked. Boston and Detroit, both teams to score 3 runs. Detroit scored like 8,500 runs, and Boston scored 2. Left 9 runners on base, had the bases loaded earlier in the game, didn't get anything, just so many chances. Ultimately, hooked us. Kikuchi over 4.5 Ks, and Michael King over 6.5 Ks. King ended up with 8, which I felt very, very good about. And Kikuchi hooked us with 4. So another hook. Tyler Mahle to record a win. This looked bad. They were getting no hit through like 6 innings. And then all of a sudden they woke up, got a 2-1 lead, and were able to hold it. Things got really sweaty in the 9th. Bases loaded, 1 out. Thank you, Kyle Farmer, for hitting into a double play. So we ended up cashing that. Only cash was a plus money, plus 105. And then Diamondbacks Giants over 8. Loved this spot. They had 17 hits combined between the two teams, and they scored 3 runs. So that was brutal. Absolutely brutal. I had another play where both teams to score 2. It was kind of a nice little 4-leg parlay I had. They were the last leg, and Giants hooked me with 1 instead of 2. So, like I said, some pretty vicious hooks yesterday all around, at least for me personally. I was saying the Padres yesterday. I was on the Padres last leg of a pretty juicy parlay. And if you haven't seen the ending of the Padres game, go watch it. They were up 2 with 1 out, nobody on. And then the closer just couldn't throw a strike. And he walked like 5 in a row to tie the game, and then they hit a grand slam. Pretty freaking wild ending there. So the Angels end up scoring 6th in the top of the 9th to win. Pretty wild. Just pretty much sums up yesterday. A wild day. All right, let's get into this crazy little weather-laden slate and talk about some plays today. First game on the card. It's going to be the same as yesterday. Brewers and the Guardians. We've got Quinn Priester going up against Logan Allen. In terms of the weather, at Progressive, we do have about a 9-mile-an-hour wind that's going to be blowing out kind of towards left field. It's going to be 69 degrees, rain and storms. Highly likely that this gets delayed or postponed. But in the event it doesn't, I don't mind the nerfy. I mean, these two teams really haven't scored much in the first, but I hate both of these pitchers. So Quinn Priester on the road's a fade for me. He's got a 5 ERA. Logan Allen's got a 4.33 ERA. We're starting to see the real Logan Allen standing up here today. I don't love him in terms of his splits, giving up a 387 average to lefties, 267 average to righties. Priester weaker against lefties, 273 average against 242 to righties. Obviously, that's important when you're talking about Cleveland. Most likely like 7 lefties in that lineup. So don't love the fact that he's given up 273 to lefties. The one thing Logan Allen doesn't do is he doesn't give up a lot of hard contact. Just in general, he gives up a ton of soft contact, 21% That is definitely one of the better ones. And then in terms of his runners in scoring position, does an okay job of limiting, runs with runners in scoring position, giving up a 200 average. Quinn Priester giving up a 286 average. This Brewers team obviously struggling with the offense. I thought going to Cleveland would help, but that is not the case. So they are really struggling with the stick. So I can't get behind them. Can't really get behind an over. So it's Cleveland or pass, but it's definitely a pass for me with the weather and all that good stuff. Next game is going to be the Twins and the Orioles. Highly, highly likely this game gets postponed. It is supposed to storm all day, just pretty much all day storms. So either we get a lengthy delay or we get a postponement or they play and then it ends up getting delayed in the middle. Too much bad stuff here. So fading this game for sure. Cade Povich, I can't really get behind him. He's got a 5.55 ERA, 1-3 record, 300 opponent average. Pitch splits look terrible. So I've got this in favor of the Twins. I would go Twins team total over would be the only way I would play this. I can't really get behind Simeon, Woods, Richardson. Now, we do see the Orioles hit righties. They can't hit lefties, but hate the splits here. Richardson giving up over a 300 average to lefties at 311. That is really bad. 246 to righties. Hard hit percentage is just too high to make me comfortable. Struggling with runners in scoring position, giving up a 320 average. I can't get behind Woods Richardson, but I do like the Twins to score some runs. So it's Twins team total over or nothing for me. My only concern here is the Twins on the road have been terrible. 6-14 on the season, but they've won 8 straight games. Can't fade a team on a streak like that. And the Orioles at home are 8-9 on the season. So it's not like they're absolutely just crushing it. After a win this season, kind of an interesting trend. Orioles are 2-12 on the season after they've had a win, which they did win their last game. So it has not worked out well for them. At home as favorites this season, they're 7-7. And when we look at the Twins on the road as dogs, they're 4-8. So a lot of trends that just kind of contradict one another. But like I said, Twins team total over for me. Pitch splits don't look great for Povich here. All right, next game, White Sox and the Reds. You guessed it, probably a delay, maybe a cancellation. So rain all day here in Cincinnati. But if we do play, we're going to have good weather to score runs, at least. There is going to be a slight wind blowing out. It's going to be 69 degrees, but like I said, a lot of rain. Rain equals uncertainty, especially if you're a pitcher. Typically equals more runs, just because pitchers get off tilt with their routine, yada, yada, yada. Really hard for me to back this Reds team right now, who is 3-7 in their last 10. They are 9-10 at home. That said, the White Sox are 3-17 on the road. Following a loss, though, the Reds are 11-10 on the season. So they do have somewhat of a bounce back factor. But when they're at home and they're favorites, they're only 6-7 on the year. They're also playing the White Sox, who really don't hit lefty pitching all that great. Abbott's looked really good on the season. He's got a 2.25 ERA, 2-0 on the season with a 186 opponent average. Jonathan Cannon, 2-4 with a 267 opponent average and a 4.09 ERA. Pitch splits, giving up a 289 average to righties, 241 to lefties. Abbott sub 200 to both sides of the plate. Extremely low hard hit percentage of 25.5%. Both pitchers are actually doing a pretty decent job with runners in scoring position. Abbott at 154 and Cannon at 161. So who do we back in this one? Nobody. Just not a game I want to get behind. I would hope the Reds win this, but the Reds are one of the weaker teams in terms of scoring runs at home. So I lean Reds, but there's just no value to take the Reds at minus 180 or higher. It's closer to like minus 200 on more mainstream books. But like I said, don't even know if this game gets played. So it's a fade for me. Red Sox and the Tigers. You guessed it, rain. Rain most likely, but not heavily. So probably a delay in all likelihood. So in this one, it's kind of interesting. They're going to use Tigers are going to start Tyler Holton. Now, Holton last year in these spots typically went 2 innings. I like Holton. He's a very good lefty. Going up against Brian Bayo for the Red Sox, and the Red Sox just got embarrassed last night. I mean, they got the brakes beat off of them. That was embarrassing. So, if you're me, I mean, Tigers sounds pretty good today, especially at the value we're getting them at. But with the rain and everything, so I think it's Holton's going to go 2 innings, and then you get Keeter Montero. Montero, I just can't get behind Montero. That said, he's not pitched terrible. But I do think Bayo gets beat up today. So it would be Tigers or nothing for me. In this one, we got an over-under of 8.5. I would say that's too much, but probably not. But we do have the wind blowing in at about 8 to 9 miles an hour, 69 degrees. Like I said, cloudy and rainy. I'll have to wait and see on this one. But yeah, this is a Tiger spot again. For me, I've got this game pretty high scoring. I do have it over. I've got this projected to be 6-4 in terms of the Tigers. So it's a Tigers or nothing here. But again, one I will bet on for sure once I know the weather. And Kerry Carpenter 2+ bases is probably going to be another play I go back to. I do like his matchup today. All right, next game. St. Louis and Philly. Highly likely we don't play this game. Lots of rain today. And we're going to have, if they do play the game, they're going to have an 11-mile-an-hour wind blowing out. So there could be some runs, although we had the same weather yesterday. And we didn't see any runs. So now you've got two better pitchers on the mound with Jesus Luzardo going up against Sonny Gray. I won't say better. Sanchez did pretty good. Liberatore hooked me. I had his over 4.5 Ks. I had a decent little bet on that one, and he ended up at 4. So another hook for me yesterday. Very frustrating. And he had 3 Ks after like 2 innings. So I was feeling really good about that. And he only had like 35 pitches. But Cardinals got the job done yesterday. Phillies, how do they bounce back after a loss this season? Pretty good, 10-6. So there is a bounce back factor there. At home, favorites at home, they're 11-7. Cardinals on the road now are 8-13, but they've won 9 straight games. They've been on an absolute tear, 9-1 in their last 10. Sonny Gray on the bump. I've got this a very tight game. I've actually got the under here just by a hair. I've got about 7.2 runs in this game. 7.5 is the over. I would just lean towards taking the over in this one. I think the Cardinals should be able to get to Luzardo a little bit. They can hit lefties. And we saw in Luzardo's last start, he was giving up hits. He just wasn't giving up runs. But his pitch splits don't look great today. Cardinals are 4th hitting the fastball, which he throws 46% of the time. 1st hitting the changeup, which he throws 16% of the time. So he's a fastball, slider, changeup guy. And then Sonny Gray, we've definitely seen his advanced metrics starting to drop. I think age is starting to catch up to him a little bit. That said, still pitching really well. But fastball velo's down, induced breaks down, all those key metrics. So can't not back a Cardinals team that's won 9 straight. So I would just take the over in this game. But like I said, don't think it gets played. Next game is going to be the Rays and the Blue Jays in a dome, so we don't have to worry about weather here. Jose Barrios going up against Shane Baz. Shane Baz's last 2 starts have been really bad. Against Philly, he went 3.1 innings, 8 hits, 6 earned runs. And against Kansas City, 9 hits, 7 earned runs. So he's given up 13 earned runs in his last 2 starts. Had a really good start against the Padres before that, but then gave up 5 to the Yankees. So this has definitely been a big slide for him. If we look at Shane Baz versus Toronto, he's got great numbers. He's 2-0 with a 2.12 ERA with 18 strikeouts. So he's faced them 3 times, had 5, 7, and 6 Ks, and gave up 2 earned runs back in 21, 1 in 22, and 1 last year. Jose Barrios, kind of know what you're going to get with him. Really doesn't have too many blow-up games, but he's going to be somewhere between 2 and 4 earned runs. And just kind of pencil that in. That's just what he does, especially at home. He's given up a 276 split to lefties, 237 to righties, a decent amount of hard hit percentage. But what he has done great this season is runners in scoring position, 111 average. So doing really well there. He's 1-1 on the season with a 3.86 ERA. Baz 3-2. Even after all these blow-up games, Baz still only has a 4.93 ERA. But I just can't get behind him here. It's going to be a tight game. I think we got an over-under of 8. I would just lean towards taking the over. but not really a game I want to get behind. And my issue with taking the over is Tampa Bay just hasn't been hitting, and they haven't been hitting with runners in scoring position over the course of the past week, over the course of the season, really. And then obviously on the road, they don't play a ton of away games, but they are 7-5 on the road. They lost their last game after a loss. They're 8-13 on the season, so that doesn't bode well for them. Blue Jays have won 4 in a row, 6-4 in their last 10. They're 12-7 after a win, and at home as favorites, they're 7-4. So Blue Jays over either of those two, but really can't get behind this Tampa Bay team with Baz really struggling. Okay, next game, back to the rain here. So Pirates and the Mets, potential postpone. I think this game probably gets started, and then there's supposed to be rain later into the game that's potentially heavy. So we could see some type of postponement or delay later into the game. So if you want to play this game, I think it's going to be dicey, but I do have we do have one bet on this game because I think this is the game that's most likely to get played of all the rain. So Mitch Keller going up against Kodai Senga. Senga 4-2 on the season, 209 opponent average, 1.16 ERA. Has been fantastic. Going up against Mitch Keller, 1-4 with a 4.40 ERA and 267 opponent average. Splits for Keller, giving up a 318 average to lefties, but sub 200 to righties. Kodai Senga, 263 to lefties, 130 to righties. Can't really find an angle here to get behind the Pirates. In terms of the weather, like I said, it's going to be rain, kind of drizzly, 63 degrees, and we're going to have the wind blowing in kind of from left field to right field here. But give me the Mets in this spot. It's just the better team. And if it comes down to the end with the bullpens, this Pirates bullpen's terrible. It's Keller on the road. I mean, there is a decent amount of value at plus like 2 something to take the Pirates, but I don't think they have a lot of success against Kodai Senga here today. So give me the Metis. We're going to parlay them with another team. All right, next one. Nats and the Braves. Interesting game last night. Braves made like 2 errors in the ninth to allow the Nats to tie it at 3, and then they won in extras. So I think that's the 3 straight games with extra innings for the Braves. It's either 3 straight or 3 of the last 4 they've gone into extra innings. Spencer Schwellenbach going up against Michael Soroka. Schwellenbach 1-3 on the season with a 3.61 ERA. Opponent average of 240. He's definitely been very vulnerable. More vulnerable this year than we've seen him. Giving up a 263 average to lefties. Very key number when you're looking at this Nationals team, who does have a decent amount of lefties that hit pretty good. 253 average to righties. Michael Soroka, 259 to lefties, 250 to righties. Soroka 0-2 with a 7.20 ERA on the season. So not a great start there. Hate the pitch splits here for Schwellenbach. Nats hit the fastball and cutter pretty well. They hit the curveball pretty well. The only thing they really stink at is the slider, which he throws about 19% of the time. Definitely can't get behind the Braves at this price today, especially with I think this one gets played, but I think there's a postponement. So I do think it gets delayed. Just nothing I want to get behind here. Maybe Nats plus 1.5. So take them on the run line. But that's really all I can get behind there. We're just seeing that Braves offense kind of toil back into uncertainty here. Next game, Marlins and the Cubs. It's going to be another wind in the face day at Wrigley. We've got Valenti Belazzo going up against Ben Brown. Ben Brown 3-3 on the year with a 4.95 ERA, 300 opponent average. Going up against Belazzo, who's 0-2 with 3.50 ERA, 215 opponent average. Just a really bad day for wind here. But, I mean, the Cubbies just do well in playing in this environment. Every time we've seen this headwind, they've won. So, really can't get behind, I won't say every time. One game, Sunday Night Baseball, Nola pitched to Jim, and they ended up winning. But other than that, they've won the rest of the games, to my knowledge. If we look at the Cubbies after a win, they're 11-12 on the season after a win. Marlins after a loss are 10-14. Marlins on the road as underdogs are 4-11. Cubbies at home as favorites are 9-6. I do think the Cubs pull this out. I'm not willing to take the run line. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take Valenti Belazzo over 14.5 pitching outs. I think he can get through 5 innings in this one, especially given the weather. And then we're going to take the Cubs. So pair those two together. It helps us eat a lot of this juice and gets us to actually plus money. So it's going to be my best bet in this game. I do have a decent high-scoring game despite the weather. I do have this right at that 8.5 mark. So I've got the Cubbies at 5 and the Marlins at like 3.3. So that's where I'm at in that one. Next game is going to be the Rockies and the Rangers. The Rangers offense did not show up yesterday. Kyle Freeland on the bump for Colorado. He is 0-5 with a 6.41 ERA, 3.33 opponent average. Going up against Jack Leiter, who's 2-2 with a 5 ERA and a 2.18 opponent average. Freeland splits here, definitely weaker against righties, giving up a 3.74 average to righties, 2.20 to lefties, and Jack Leiter 2.29 to lefties, 2.05 to righties. It's definitely a Ranger spot. Do I trust him on the run line after yesterday? Not necessarily. I think that the Rockies could hit Jack Leiter. Feels like a sneaky Rocky spot, but we're not getting good enough value to really take the Rockies. I mean, plus 198 is just not enough for me to want to do that. Rockies are 2-18 on the road. They're 1-9 in their last 10. They're not good. They have not been a favorite at home this year, by the way, which is pretty crazy. But they haven't been a favorite whatsoever this season. On the road, as an underdog, 2-18 on the season. Not great. Rangers after a win are 11-9, but they're 10-2 at home as favorites. So I do think they probably get the job done here. I don't mind the Nerfy. I think that's one that could possibly hit, especially after lack of offensive production yesterday, but a crappy game there. All right, next one is going to be the Royals and the Astros. We've got Chris Bubic going up against Framber Valdez. Bubic, the lefty, is 4-2 on the season with a 1.69 ERA, 2.19 opponent average, going up against Framber Valdez, also a lefty, 2-4 on the season with a 4 ERA. Bubic, to me, I have one play in this one. I was on the Royals yesterday. I would be on the Royals again today, but I think this is a very tight game. So I like the under. Didn't bet it. But what I do like is Bubic over 4.5 Ks. So you can get that at minus 120 on Hard Rock. That's going to be my best bet there. I think Bubic has a decent day. He's been over that in the vast majority of games this season. The one he didn't hit it was a rain-delayed game in Baltimore. That was kind of a weird game where he only went like 70 pitches in that one. So we got a dome here. We don't have to worry about the weather. Bubic over 4.5 Ks is my best bet. Lean Royals on the money line as well. Next one, Angels and the Padres. Freaking wild game yesterday. But Jose Soriano going up against Dylan Cease. Dylan, you don't know what you're going to get. Cease. This one, I like the Padres. Can't pay the value for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take another kind of alt line here. Is we're going to take Dylan Cease to get 3 hits and the Padres to win. So it's crazy that Dylan Cease's hits line's 3.5. He's gone over that in most of his games. That said, last game he threw a 1-hitter, but that was a little different environment. And that was against the Yankees, who kind of spotty with the bats in that series. So give me Dylan Cease to give up 3 hits and the Padres to win, and we get plus money on that. But Jose Soriano, just not a dude I can get behind. Pitch splits look terrible today. He's 2-4 with a 4 ERA, 2.82 opponent average, pretty much giving it up to both sides of the dish, 2.72 to lefties, 2.96 to righties. Dylan Cease definitely weaker against righties, giving up a 2.84 average. Angels are probably going to K a lot. His K line's 7.5 today, which I want to take the under at plus money, but I don't know if I'll pull the trigger on that. But the Padres have been one of the best hitting teams. They're probably the best hitting team right now, especially over the last week, hitting 335. Of course, everything's highly inflated by that Rockies series, so can't read a ton into that. But this Angels team still just not really good with the sticks. They got gifted a win last night after a loss. Padres are actually only 7-7 after a loss, but interesting fact, at home they are 14-5 at home. Of their 14 wins, 11 of those at home have been by 2 or more. So if you do want to take them on the run line, there is really good data to say when they do win at home, they win by more than 2 or 2 or more. So you could take them on the run line here, minus 1.5. I wouldn't mind that either. Next game is going to be the Yankees and the Mariners. This would be a really good pitching matchup. Max Fried going up against Brian Wu. Fried 6-0 on the year. Definitely the favorite right now for the AL Cy Young. Still early, but 6-0 with a 1.05 ERA, 187 opponent average. Going up against Brian Wu, who's 4-1, 3.25 ERA, 200 opponent average. Don't love the pitch splits for Wu today. He's pretty much a two-pitch pitcher. It's like fastball and slider. And every once in a while, he throws a changeup. Yankees hit the fastball really well. So that's my only concern here. But between these two pitchers, we've got, 40 ABs between the two of them, and there's 4 hits. So it's not going well. Mariners are 1 for 19 against Max Fried, and the Yankees are 3 for 21 against Brian Wu. So you kind of just want to take the under, but it's 3.5 for the first 5. So I don't necessarily want to trust that. And I can definitely see the Mariners or the Yankees bullpen just absolutely blowing this game after one of the other ones come out. But it's Yankees for me. Yankees on the money line here. One of those plays I want to take it. If you can get it at minus 125 on Profit X, I would lock that in. Just a better team, better offense. And like I said, I don't love the pitch splits here for Brian Wu. So that's where I would lean in that game. Next game is going to be the D-backs and the Giants. Giants who could not score more than 1 run yesterday. So that was cool. Today we got Robbie Ray going up against Brandon Pfaadt. We do have the wind blowing out, but again, the wind doesn't really factor in too much there. It's going to be a cooler day, 61 degrees. So we got an over-under of 7.5. I mean, tricky game. I got Giants in this one. I do have the over hitting as well, but I had the over hitting too in yesterday's game. But don't love the pitch splits for Robbie Ray. It's my only concern. Just throw a lot of fastballs, a lot of sliders, 2 pitches that the D-backs hit really well. So I don't necessarily want to back this Giants team that's now lost 4 in a row. But they are 12-6 at home. If we look at the D-backs, 5-5. But yeah, I think tight games isn't really, D-backs aren't built to win tight games, just not with this bullpen that's got a 5.02 ERA, and the Giants have a significantly better bullpen, actually have the lowest ERA in baseball right now. But Robbie Ray looked pretty decent on the year. He's 5-0, giving up a 2.84 ERA, 190 opponent average. Definitely weaker against lefties, so lefty on lefty is his weakness, 258 average as opposed to 177. What I don't love about Robbie Ray is he gives up a really high amount of hard contact, but so does Brandon Pfaadt. Both do a really good job of runners in scoring position. They have about the same average, about 179 to 176. Brandon Pfaadt on the other side has been having a great season, 6-2 with a 3.28 ERA. So it's like, I like the over, but the way these pitchers are throwing, I'd probably go for like a first 5 under. So who wins it? Probably the D-backs, just because the Giants are on quite a little streak of losing. A couple ways you could look at that. I mean, after a loss, the Giants are 10-7. After a win, the D-backs are 9-12. So bounce back factor says Giants win this. At home, as an underdog, Giants are only 0-1. Yesterday was the first time all season they've been an underdog at home. D-backs on the road as favorites are 7-3. So it's interesting data, but yeah, probably a D-back spot. I think the Giants are probably in it until the first 5. Yeah, it should be a pretty interesting game there, but one I just don't have a great feel for. Last game on the card is going to be the A's and the Dodgers. No official pitcher listed for the Athletics. I believe it's going to be Jeffrey Springs. So it should be Springs going up against Landon Knack. Knack 2-0 on the season, actually, with a 4.61 ERA. If it is Jeffrey Springs, he's 4-3 with a 4.81 ERA. I hate the pitch splits if it is Springs. The Dodgers hit sliders and changeups really, really well. And that is about 56% of what he throws. And then he throws a fastball, which they also hit well. So don't love the spot here. It's a Dodger spot. You can look on the run line. I think there is some value. I'm just not going to officially... I like them to win the game. So I have the Dodgers and Mets on a parlay. But in terms of run line, I need to know exactly who is pitching before I want to put that down. And then you got to put some faith in Landon Knack, which is a little bit scary. But I do think they get the job done at home. We do have the wind blowing out. It's going to be 65 degrees, so a little bit on the cooler side. Mid-humidity, mid-pressure. If we look at the Dodgers here, they are 6-4 in their last 10, 17-9 after coming off a win. And if we look at home as favorites this season, the Dodgers are 15-3 Athletics on the road as dogs are 5-7. So don't love that spot for the Athletics here today. All right, so those are the rundowns of the games. Let's get into the best bets, get you guys on your way. First bet today is going to be Valenti Belazzo for the Marlins to go over 14.5 outs and the Cubs to win. 144 on DraftKings. Next play is going to be Bubik over 4.5 Ks against these Astros, minus 120 on Hard Rock. We're going to do Dylan Cease to give up 3 hits, but the Padres still to win at plus 102. And then we're going to take a little parlay of the Dodgers and the Mets on the money line. So those are the 4 plays today. Like I said, we've got a lot of weather. So once I have a better feel for if games are going to get played, if they're going to get delayed, then we'll probably have a few more plays that I will post in the Discord. Link is down below to join, absolutely free. And I will catch you guys in the next video.